We just came up with this idea to do a flyer and just distribute it and do this event, but never thought that we want to set up any rescue because we're quite busy people. We have very demanding jobs. So we said, fine, let's help with this puppy event, and that's it. But then my name is Donja and I live in Qatar.
My name is James and I live in Qatar.
Hello everyone, my name is Kayan and I am a co-host on this episode of Qatar in Quotes.
Hello everyone, my name is Dalal and I will be the second host of this episode.
Today we have with us Donja and James, a married couple who established a foster-based group called BarkinQ in 2016 with the goal of helping and supporting stray dogs in need in Qatar. Could you please just tell us a little bit about yourselves, how you came to be in Qatar?
I was born in UK, but I was raised in Egypt, and I live in Qatar since, let's say, 17 years now. So I came here when my mom moved from Cairo to Qatar to work for one of the big hotel industries here.
I've been here 12 years. I was asked to come here to join one of the big four management consultancy firms. That was 2008, and I've been here working with most of the senior companies in Qatar for about the last 12 years.
So the first question we have about BarkinQ is, when did you establish it and why?
Okay, so this was June of 2016. Basically, someone came to us and said she had found 28 puppies and she needed someone to help find homes for them. So being original, I said, let's find a name that we can start this with and let's do a puppy event and see if we could find some foster homes for them. And it is literally Bark in Qatar. BarkinQ. Literally, we had 24 hours to come up, set up an event.
With a logo and everything.
With a logo and everything, which we did in 24 hours.
And to be honest, we just came up with this idea to do a flyer and just distribute it and do this event, but never thought that we want to set up any rescue because we're quite busy people. We have very demanding jobs. We work full-time, me and James. So we said, fine, let's help with this puppy event, and that's it. But then something really happened in my life, and that was a turnover when my dog...
Yeah, so Donja's dog of 14 years died. So we thought we'd do something in her memory. Now, unfortunately, the puppy event was a complete failure. It wasn't a failure in terms of finding the dogs homes, but it was the fact is that within a few weeks, a month, we had 90% of the dogs back again. And we focus on the dogs who are really damaged, abused, and really need help. So if a dog is starving, needs hospital care and things like this, that's the area of the market that we focus on. Small, white, fluffy things, toy dogs is not our things. We look after the mutts. So we focus really on the Doha mutts.
So why did the people give back the dogs? So when they spoke to you, what did they say exactly?
Families came with good intentions, but 90% of them got bored. 90% of them didn't have animals before. Poo, pee, things like this weren't considered. Costs weren't considered. So when you vaccinate a dog, so we try to educate people that when you have a dog here, is a dog for life. People didn't think about the cost of taking it back home where they were going. And then when they go away, a lot of people here go away for the summer for a month or 2 months. So there may be one of the parents staying here by themselves. And you have a puppy which is in a flat, whining, moaning. And then the next thing is, not everyone had permission from the landlord.
Yes, correct. The problem here as well, that the most residential areas, they don't allow people to have their own dogs. So they're not really dog-friendly residential neighborhoods here in Qatar, and that's why lots of people, when they take in dog and the dog starts to be a bit bigger, then they say, oh, we can't have it because the landlord or the neighbors are complaining. So then they call us to surrender the dog, or they just open the door and let them go.
And then the other thing is the other side of the coin is people buy dogs and they bring them in from Ukraine and other places, and puppy farms.
Yeah.
And they bring in, I mean, the worst case is the young man who wants a big macho dog, things like huskies and other things. And when the husky gets big, husky can do a lot of damage, and they open the doors and let them out, because if they're not trained properly, they're not educated properly, the dog can destroy houses and homes, and if it's not trained, it can also damage or hurt people inside. So a lot of people just open the doors and let the dogs go, and then we pick up the pieces.
So you started to touch on this, talking about the jobs, but is there a reason that when people foster or try to adopt a dog in Qatar, the success rates of them keeping it long term is much lower than it seems to be when you send them to the US?
Since we did this puppy event, we had around 20 or 25 puppies. And we started with a very big open heart that, okay, we will find adopters. Why not? Okay, that was the first event 4 years back. And we adopted out to maybe 10 or 12 different families. 8 of the puppies returned back to us in a week or 2 weeks' time. And since that moment, we said, nah, it's not going to work.
There's a lot of puppies which are bought here for children as presents. We've been asked, can you bring puppies for birthday parties? Can you bring puppies? Can you give us a puppy for a present for our daughter?
Yeah.
What for? Oh, just for the day.
Take this pandemic as an example. In this pandemic, guys, lots of people, lots of expats lost their jobs, right? And they never thought of their fur kids. They never had an exit plan in place. They never saved money to take the dogs to Australia or to South Africa. It's breaking our heart to see 9 years old, 10 years old dog being surrendered.
Prior to this, I guess, puppy event where this kind of triggered BarkinQ, were you aware of these kind of issues, and this was like the last straw?
You know, never thought about that. I never thought that, oh, there's lots of strays in Qatar before we set up this rescue. So I didn't see really the dark side of this place, and I call it the dark side because it's really, really bad, and it's not appropriate to have such an increasing stray population here in Qatar.
I was here 3 days in 2008 before I found my first stray. So I would literally find a dog during the summer. I'd keep it during the summer because no one else would take it because people disappeared, and then try and find a home in September. So I had almost like a slight revolving door on a very small scale of dogs which were normally had been rejected, because I had dogs which were very, very placid.
So speaking of scale, so before you said it was like on a small scale, like what are we talking about now? How many dogs?
So we do only one thing. We take dogs off the street and we work with foster families. So we don't take a dog off the street unless we have a foster family. We don't believe in kenneling dogs. We don't believe in putting them in cages. So we will take a dog off. No matter the state, we've had dogs with broken backs, broken legs.
Behavioral issues.
We don't make that decision. The dog needs help, full stop. We will then deal with it once so we will vet it, find a foster family, and then we'll work towards getting it to America. We have a great lady who was here with the American National Guard who was rescuing dogs. Her and her family over in Minnesota have set up BarkinQ Rescue across the globe. So they are almost like a sister. So they help us in America. Sister Rescue.
If we're talking about the scale now, you're talking about in average, let's say we've been set up by like 4 years now.
Yeah, we've done 806.
We're talking about around 800 dogs.
We've sent overseas.
We sent overseas. So, and these are either surrendered by people who are leaving the country because they lost their jobs, or dumped, or abused, or
Strays.
or vets calling us that they have this dog surrendered or dumped at the vet door and they are ready to put it down if we cannot collect.
So
Because again, if you think about it, vet clinics are not for charity. They are trying to help us by calling us and telling us, can you please help this dog? So thankfully, there's still people with a little bit of, heart to call us and say, can you help this dog? Instead of, what can we do with it?
And then there's also the strays. So there's the strays that we find,
Yeah.
the strays that some of the workers find, and then there's litters of strays. So we've had quite a few. Donja has been climbing underneath water tanks to pull out strays of 8. We were down on the American base pulling out 12 dogs underneath containers. You can find dogs anywhere. You've just got to look.
Could you run us through this process of, from the very beginning, finding the strays to sending them off?
So literally, and this is, normally Donja is contacted by someone who has seen a dog or there is a dog. Donja is the main focal point of information. So they will contact her and say, we have found a dog or a dog needs help. Now, either the person will bring it to the vet or Donja will go and collect it, and it's taken to a number of vets. Now, there are a number of vets who work with us very closely and very positively. We will then get the dog sorted, vaccinated, cleaned, neutered. We will get the dog off the street and safe. We then, as soon as Donja gets a call, she starts calling people to see if we can find it at home for that night. So literally we start getting
To
the dog.
find a foster home.
Some of these dogs, we go to specific people who we know are experienced. Some people are less experienced. So we make judgment calls. We've got some people who work with us on a regular basis. The group has gone from 50 down to about 10.
Now back to the process. Once the dog is in foster, we ask the foster home not to pay anything. We pay everything in the vet for them, right? But once the dog is in foster, then we ask them to send us photos and videos and a little bit of a bio about the character of the dog and why, so we know what is the right fit in USA. So we go to our rescue partners who we have 2 main ones, Traveling Tails and
we have
Barking,
about 5 or 8.
and we have 5 or 8 around USA. So we send them all the photos and video and bio about the dog and say, okay, please list this dog. They start listing the dog and finding it a forever home. Once the dog is adopted, we tell the foster home, okay, the dog is adopted, let's get you a crate to start crate training the dog. So who is buying the crate? Us. So we get a crate delivered to them and they start the crate training. And then we have to find a flight buddy. Tell them about the flight buddy struggle then.
So the flight buddy, so if you fly to America, there is a way that you can attach things to your ticket, right? So that literally you can say, right, I want to take 5 dogs. That last weekend we had 29 go with one lady.
Yeah, but not all from us. I mean, from different rescue groups, yeah.
But they attached 29 pieces or 29 crates to her ticket. But each crate costs 1,000 riyals, right, to fly. So remember, each dog has been vaccinated, which is 1,500 riyals thing. Or spayed is another.
No, but we're talking about, these are the rack rates. We have, of course, discounted rates. But usually, the crate depends on the size of the dog. So it's between 500 or 700, right? The ticket is depending on the weight of the dog inside the crate. So it's either 730, it's a set price, or 1,130. So it's a set. Everyone knows it. So when we ask people to come and donate something, we say, guys, if you don't trust us as people, you can go to the airport with us and pay it on the spot. Or you can go to the vet and buy a crate and leave it there for us. You don't have to give us money at all. We don't take cash. It's all direct to the vet against our bills.
See, the problem is that once the crate... So the dog is crate trained, so you get it used to so it doesn't get scared in the crate. The dog comes to the airport, flies with a flight buddy. We've done all the paperwork here,
That's a nightmare.
which is a lot of paperwork per dog.
Yeah.
And then it goes over to the States. They land. Then we, literally, I'm not joking, this is one of the most wonderful sights in the world, no matter who you rescue with it. If you go in and you see a dog rescue, you see that these dogs have landed. Then they have groups of people. And normally it's a very large groups of ladies. The dog is literally taken out of the crate, cleaned and fussed over like nothing, like you can never... It is absolutely wonderful to see. These dogs have a new... And then they get pictures of them in the car and they're going off to the new homes. And they stay with they're either directly adopted by a family or fostered. And we're still getting pictures, and we're following up
From
on
4
dogs.
years, yeah.
4 years. And I'm not joking. These people, they picked up this dog, which was dirty, messy on
Yeah.
the streets, and then you suddenly see this fuss, or it's running
Yeah.
around in a green grass in Chicago.
Whatever, yeah. The thing is, we have regular foster families, we have regular flight buddies, we have regular donors. And these people, when they started doing it 4 years back, they never thought that it is so heartwarming. And once they saw these dogs from the street to a beautiful home there, they said, oh, we want to do that all the time. We cannot have a dog forever here. We cannot adopt a dog because we know that we can lose our job in a second and we have to be sent back home. So what can we do with the dog? So it's better to foster than to adopt.
And we have there's a group of people here in Qatar Foundation, and it used to compete with each other how many dogs they could take.
Yeah.
So it started off with 2, then it went to
As
4.
flight buddies,
You're talking
yeah.
about some of the professors here. They would actually have a competition. By the way, I'm taking 6, I'm taking 8, I'm taking 10. But it's quite bizarre.
This seems to be a very lengthy and time-consuming process. What would you say is the most challenging part, or where do you face the most difficulties?
The most challenging thing in the whole process is finding the right foster home. Because to trust people, once they close the door and they have a dog, you don't know what's going on inside, right? So you have to trust these people to keep the dog for 2 to 3 months until we can find a flight buddy to take the dog out of Qatar to the US, to their forever homes.
A dog cannot fly to the USA unless it's vaccinated to a certain level, rabies, and there's a number of other injections. Then it also needs to be 6 months. Minimum 6 months old. So if we find a puppy who's 5 weeks old, we've got to keep it for 6 months, right?
And now, not all the foster homes can keep the puppies for 5 or 6 months. Some people call us after 48 hours from taking the dog and say, oh, I cannot have my beauty sleep, I cannot have the dog anymore. Can you please collect the dog? Some people ask us to make appointments in the vet. Some people ask us to work around their leave and holiday. So we have a schedule of foster homes when they are going on holiday and when they are going on leave, so we can take the dog back and put it in another foster home or in boarding and pay this boarding fee. And when they come back,
we pay the boarding fee, remember?
Yeah. So it's a struggle. It is a struggle.
But there are some people, who are very genuine, who will bend over backwards to help us, but can't afford it. So we have to try and help them. They don't have transport. So, and these are very genuine people who, and it's normally the people who can't.
Yeah.
And they really do want to help, but they just can't do things. So you have to help them. A lady had a dog that died, which was her best friend, and she donated 120 kilos of dog food. That went down
For
to
the memory of her, yeah.
Yeah, in memory of her dog.
Yeah.
So the food went down to the guys in the industrial area to feed their dogs. The great thing about dog rescue is you see the positive things at the end. Yeah. The thing that you don't see is when you literally pull it out of the garbage, the trash, or basically SH1. You know, we find them in the really, like all the other rescuers do. And there's a lot of the people who find the dogs in a really, really bad state and a bad place. We have a dog who is used in dog fighting. right? We've got another dog that had 38 cigarette burns all over its body and tied up in the middle of a beach. We've got dogs which we've had to literally rescue from the locations that they are because of the abuse. Someone told me something which I never believed until I saw it. Down in the industrial area, I've seen people drive with their cars, open the doors, dogs jumped out, they've closed the doors and they've driven off. One of the stories which is really classic, we found a dog which had been abandoned in a pet shop, right? 3 stories up in old downtown Doha. This is one of the things which really got us going. Oh, Big Ben. Big Alsatian, someone couldn't handle. He had been put in a cage for 2 years. He'd never been left out of the cage. He had chewed so all of his teeth had gone, right? He had closed his eyes so his eyes had sealed over so he couldn't see, because he never used his eyes, he just walked around in a circle. So when we found him, the vets here thought he was blind. We got him out to a lady who was living out on Al Wakra beach, and he started coming back to life. We sent him over to the States, right? He wasn't blind, he had just, his eyes, a skin had just grown over his eyes. The vet repaired it in 30 seconds. He lived a couple of years, but he had a quality of life with a lady who, when he died, she took another one from us.
I feel sometimes people look at dogs as like objects rather than like, it's like a soul at the end of the day. It's like
It's the way that we look at it.
Yeah,
And
we can't look at
it's
it
not
as
just
like
a
an
soul,
object.
it's the perfect soul. It's the most loyal soul.
The question is, how long can we do this? It's coming to the end because
It's very tiring, yeah.
it's very tiring. We have lost 80% of our people who are fosterers. We have lost virtually all financial support now.
Because of the pandemic. People
Yeah.
are just struggling.
We can't do it by ourselves because, so each dog, 2,500, 3,500. Some dogs have cost us up as much as 10,000 due to medical. Times by 800. If you're only good at maths, that's around about 2.2 million.
Yeah, so it seems like that it takes a lot of your time, honestly. Like, I can't imagine what it's like dealing with so many dogs and dealing. Also, I really like the fact how this turned from like just a puppy kind of event into an international kind of collaboration as well.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah, it's just amazing. And what I wanted to ask is, how can our listeners contribute and help you guys out? Whether it's for a BarkinQ or just for the whole situation. in
The
general.
phrase is this, and let's be honest, all the rescuers need help. Qatar rescue community needs help, full stop. You can do anything. You can actually, if you go to Carrefour, you can buy a bag of dog food, cat food or whatever and give it to a vet or ask for things. You can put food outside and water outside where you live for the dogs, cats, whatever. That's really, really simple. If you're feeling financially inclined, you can make a contribution towards a crate, a flight, whichever way you want. And by the way, most people will welcome you. If you've made a contribution or if people want to see what happens and you want to go and see what the airport's like, there's a lot. If you look at the BarkinQ website, you'll see it's quite a phenomenal site. Now you see why we do it. The smiles on our faces.
Your story is so inspiring, and it's so amazing to hear about all the time and money and effort you put into helping the rescue community in Qatar, and how you've built this organization from a small puppy event 4 years ago to now something that spans multiple countries. It's just incredible to hear about your passion and your dedication, and of course it's really heartbreaking to hear about all the dogs in Qatar that are being abused, that are being neglected. Thank you so much for coming here today and sharing your story with us. We hope that we can bring more awareness to the needs of the rescue community in Qatar. If there's anyone out there listening to this podcast who's willing to be a flight buddy or a sponsor or help pay for a crate or just donate a single can of dog food, we really encourage you to check out BarkinQ's Facebook page and just to see what you can do as a member of Qatar's community to help our stray dogs.
Thank you everyone for listening to this episode. Make sure to follow us on Twitter,
Instagram and Facebook at Qatar in Quotes to know what's in store on the next episodes.